Stangibelisco here. You may have gathered by now that I have lived in a number of different places throughout the United States, and one of those places was a town called Minden, Nevada, near Carson City. And I lived out in the country in a cottage owned by some people, so I was sort of their guest cottage resident. And at that time, there was no cable going out to that area, so I couldn't get cable internet, and dial-up was by then just way too slow. So what I went for was satellite internet communications. And at that time, roughly 2001, 2002, there was a satellite internet corporation called Starband. As I understand it, that organization no longer exists. It went defunct in 2015 or something like that. But they came out and installed a dish antenna on the side of that little guest cabin. It was only about 1 meter in diameter, maybe even less than that. Dish antennas, of course, have a reflector and then a transponder at the focal point of that reflector. And the transponder is what picks up the signal and retransmits the signal, usually on a different frequency. It's a broad-banded antenna, and it operated, as I recall, in the ultra-high frequency range somewhere. That would be between 300 megahertz and 3 gigahertz. But I'm not really certain exactly of those particulars. The only thing I remember was that it was quite frustrating at times to use satellite internet. When the sun got behind the geosynchronous satellite or geostationary satellite that was used as the repeater for that internet connection, when the sun went directly behind it, or it went directly in front of the sun, there would be a brief blackout in communications because of solar noise. You just had to put up with it and wait until it ended. There were oftentimes other problems. It seemed that there were glitches in that system, and it was actually an online forum about Starband. It was very interesting, and we were kind of a close-knit community of users because of the unique nature of Starband. However, the thing that I remember, one thing that was kind of weird, was the dish antenna itself. In Nevada, in that part of Nevada, near Carson City in the desert, in the summertime, the temperature during the daytime could get up to around 110, even 115 degrees in the shade. Well, my satellite dish was in the sun, and the transponder in that dish would get extremely hot on days like that. And there were plenty of them because Nevada is not a particularly cloudy place, at least not that part of Nevada in the desert. And the temperature of that transponder would rise to such a level that the dish would stop working. It was just, the electronics just overheated because of the sun. And so I came up with a rather simple but very effective way to cool that thing down. I hung a rag over the transponder, just like a dish rag or a small bath towel. I just hung it over the transponder. The electromagnetic waves could penetrate that thing even when it was wet. And that was the idea, was to get it wet so that the evaporation in that hot sun would cool down that transponder and would also put the transponder in the shade. So I hung this rag over the transponder and then stood there with a hose and hosed down the whole dish for a couple of minutes, and then checked and wanted to see if I could get back on the internet. Sure enough, I could. I successfully cooled and got rid of a malfunction in a dish antenna by hosing it down with cold water and putting a rag over its transponder. High-tech stuff here from Stan Gibilisco. Signing off for now. Until next time. Until that satellite dish gets too hot and I have to hose it down again and get it working again, well, never mind. So long.